Median condo prices in Toronto dropped 10%. Sukasa, a real estate brokerage, released a study saying that median condo prices dropped by $65,000. That's 10% from February to April. So, is the market crashing now? Wait a minute, didn't I tell you that the market is frozen and prices are stable? There's no pandemic sale. But the study is also correct about the 10% drop. So what is going on? When you read a news article or a market report, you often hear the terms average price and median price. What is the difference between the two? Let me explain. Number 1, average price. This is what we are most familiar with. You add all the prices together and divide it by the total number of transactions. Say, in this case, the average price is $670,400. Number 2, median price. The median price is the midpoint where half of the transactions occurred above that price and the other half occurred below that price. Let's use the same 5 transactions again. You see, 2 transactions occurred above $600,000 and 2 transactions occurred below. So the median price is $600,000. Now let's look at the Sukasa study. It says that the median condo prices dropped $65,000 or 10% from February to April. Specifically, in downtown Toronto, the drop was 8%. So the midpoint shifted downward. What does that really mean? We won't be able to answer the question unless we have some insights into the transactions that occurred. So I have dug up all the transactions that occurred in downtown Toronto in February and April. Let's take a look at February 1st. There were a total of 383 transactions. Here's the breakdown of the numbers of transactions by price range. You see, the most number of transactions occurred in $700,000 range. There were 144 transactions below the range and 148 transactions above the range. So the midpoint would be somewhere in the $700,000 range, right? And the median price was $738,000. That makes perfect sense. Now, let's look at the April numbers. The total numbers of transactions were only 119. That's a huge drop of 70% from February. There was only 1 transaction above the 1.2 million price point. The majority of the transactions occurred in the $600,000 range. There were 31 transactions below the range and 53 transactions above the range. So we would expect the midpoint to be around the high $600,000 range, and the median price was $677,500. You see, it is very misleading to just compare the median prices. Yes, the median price dropped 8%. But does that mean the sales price also dropped 8%? Not at all. There are 2 important notes you should pay attention to. Number 1, load and trading. Because of the lockdown, the number of transactions dropped dramatically. Most people were only selling if it is absolutely necessary. For example, they have already bought a new place and they need to sell the current one. You see, the majority of the transactions occurred in the lower end of the price spectrum. People holding on to more luxurious products are generally in a more powerful financial position and don't have the urgency to sell. This is why the median price, the midpoint, is much lower in April. Number 2, Market price trading. If we look at individual transactions, they were actually trading at around the same market price as in February. Occasionally, you can find some small discounts. For example, a unit sold at $700,000 in February. You may be able to get a similar one at $685,000 now, something like a 2% discount in the resale market. But there's nothing like a 10% discount. You see, the median price actually tells you nothing about the individual sales price. A majority of the transactions occurring at the lower end does not equate to a price drop. So I hope this clears up your confusion on the 10% price drop news headline. Both the median price and the average price can be very misleading indicators, especially when there are very few transactions. So keep that in mind and be very careful when you read headlines. We always need to dig deeper to have a better understanding of the big picture. I share my opinions and market news every single week. If you want to stay on top of the market, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell now.